ready? Okay. Welcome everyone to part 3 of Hearth, Kitchen, and Garden Witchcraft. Now I gotta tell you, it was originally supposed to be Hearth and Kitchen Witchcraft, and when I started this research, I got so excited, and all of the books, everything I looked, they had all 3 of them tied in. So I thought, well, the 3 parts. This one was the hardest. And I even had notes, but I lost my notes. Had a whole bunch of notes from my original research, but I couldn't find it. So, but that's okay. It's all come together now. And tonight, hopefully, this will tie the other 2 parts together. In part 1, we learned about the garden witchcraft, and part 2 is covered the kitchen witchcraft, and tonight we'll bring it all inside. Hearth witchcraft incorporates a multitude of magical practices, including but not limited to animal magic, candle magic, color magic, crystal magic, garden magic, herb magic, kitchen magic. I've also seen blanket magic, and so there's
fiber magic.
5. I'm sure fiber magic. And so a lot of different things can be incorporated with this, and it also incorporates hearth craft, which is the spiritual aspect of hearth witchcraft. Now, hearth, I'm going to use hearth and home kind of interchangeably, but we'll get into that. As a matter of fact, slide 2, please. For this evening, I'll switch back and forth to house witch and hearth witchcraft, but it really means the same. And we're going to talk about what hearthcraft and house witchcraft means. We often use the term house, hearth, and home as one and the same, but they're not really the same. A house is merely a neutral structure, a place of shelter and protection. A home is a living, thriving place that is created by the actions and intentions of the people that live within that space. A place of security. Hearth is usually the space within the house or home where people most often gather and carry out their daily activities. It's the sanctuary. In the pre-industrial ages, the hearth was the safe space around the fireplace or the fire where people gathered within the home. And often those houses were just one large structure, 4 walls, of a roof of sorts, and a fireplace somewhere, usually relatively centrally located. As we became more civilized and smarter and had more room, started putting rooms into our structures, quite often a house would have more than one hearth, more than one fireplace, so therefore more than one hearth. But the main hearth would usually still be in the kitchen, where most of the gathering took place. We no longer gather around or depend on a fire for cooking, heating, and light. Many houses today don't even have a fireplace. In this modern age, hearth craft distinguishes the hearth as being the central or dominant place of energy in the home. And as was the case in olden days, it's generally the place in the house where the home where people tend to gather. In my house, that's definitely my kitchen. Even if I'm not cooking, we wind up just standing in the kitchen, talking, and it's very nice. Next slide, please. Hearthcraft is the spiritual path of hearth witchcraft, rooted in the belief that the home is a place of beauty, power, and protection, a place of nurturing and nourishing on a spiritual basis, as well as a physical and emotional basis. A house which knows spirituality, like many things, begins at home and comes from within. The spiritual path or practice you choose is what gives it the context. The house witch doesn't really need to attend out of home spiritual gatherings. She gathers most of her spirituality right at home, honoring the hearth and honoring the space you call home, as well as honoring your origins. Most house witches have at least one altar or shrine that they use to focus intentions, channel energy, and connect with spirituality and work witchcraft from. And what, you may ask, is the difference between an altar and a shrine? Not a lot, but a little bit. A shrine is often a place of tribute to ancestors, deities, or other spirits and guides. Its energy is passive and is relatively unchanging, unless you add recently deceased. It's where one invites, remembers, honors, and thanks whoever or whatever is a spiritual guiding influence in your craft and your life. An altar is a place to channel and focus energy, as well as to connect to your spiritual self and remind you of the sacred nature of the space you're in. Its energy is very active and ever evolving. I mean, after all, many of us change our altars seasonally. It may be different for each ritual or spell that you create. So it's forever evolving and changing. It's where the house witch does most of her ritual and or magical works. Next slide, please. The home is a place of refuge, renewal, and creativity where we begin and end each day. As a house witch, it is also the primary root of energy and spirituality. The house witch works to honor and strengthen this sacred space, making it as simple, as peaceful, and as nurturing as possible using hearth witchcraft. Unlike green witches who focus on nature-based practices or kitchen witches who concentrate on food and cooking, the house witch explores the uses and the energies and uses the magic of the entire home, often incorporating all these other practices so that magic happens no matter how mundane an everyday chore may be. And that brings us to slide 4. How do you turn the mundane to magical? There we go.
Yeah.
Right? How do we do that? It's very simple. Mindfulness, intention, and attitude. Mindfulness means being acutely aware of what needs to be done, how you plan on doing it, including what you will need to do so, and what you want and or expect the outcome to be, that's your intention. An intention can be assigned to any task, turning that task into something more meaningful and powerful. Attitude is basically mindfulness on display. You have control over your attitude, so use it, because the universe will respond to what it is you put on display. If you're positive and optimistic, the universe will match your positivity and then some. Likewise with negativity. If you are negative and cynical, guess what the universe thinks you want more of. So let's look at a mundane task. Does anybody have a mundane task that they want to?
Mopping the floors.
Yeah, that's the one I nominated because that's as mundane as you can get.
Walking the puppy.
Moving the litter box.
Walking the puppies.
Oh, that's truly a magical experience.
Depends on the puppy.
Moving the litter box, how we,
It better be magical.
maybe magic in there, how about that?
It better be magical.
Not the ants on your kitchen counter.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that's a good.
Stomping ants on your kitchen.
Killing them.
Killing them, yeah. See where you can get into sacrificial mode.
Vanishing.
Okay. Well,
Well, not that bad of a bug. I'm
so,
talking ants
where
here.
are we? Mindful of the intention.
Dishes. Doing dishes.
The
So-
great goddess of.
We're gonna talk about the floors. Okay, in my house, all the floors except for the kitchen and the hallways, oh, and the bathrooms, is terrazzo. I
Yeah.
love terrazzo floor. No grout, no seams.
Yeah.
It's a solid floor. When you get that baby clean, it's beautiful. It makes me all excited.
It's magical.
And we have a lot of floors. We have, so therefore we have a lot of bare hardwood floors, or hard floors, not wood. For me, the mopping is a multitask project. Assessing, sweeping, and wet mopping. Of course, the first thing I'll do is the assessment. I'll go around the house picking up stuff off the floor that the mop or vacuum, the broom or vacuum, doesn't need to handle. Put things away, straighten up, tidy up, generally. Move things back to where they are and kind of see. I have 7 cats, so I look for wet spots of different, there's water, splashed water, there's vomit, there's all kinds of
Tiny holes pulled back and then
puddles
toys everywhere.
that I may have missed during the day, so I go around to make sure that I don't have any wet spots, because I really hate the broom going when I'm sweeping to get a wet
Oh,
spot.
that's the worst.
I hate that. Okay, so that's the first. Now that I've done that, I know just how dirty the floors are. And knowing that, now I know whether I need just a superficial, go after the loose big pieces kind of mopping, or am I moving the furniture, getting the vacuum to get into the crevices, because the broom won't get into the crevices. Type of mopping. Knowing that, it helps me to then set my intention and know what tools I'm going to need and how much effort will be needed. This is the mindfulness. Next is the sweeping. Because 95% of the dirt in my house is loose dirt, sand, fur, dead skin cells, dead bugs. You get the picture.
Scattered kitty litter.
Scattered kitty litter, yeah, I got a lot of stuff. So for me, sweeping is really important. I consider it the most important part of the mopping of the floor. The less silt there is in the bottom of the bucket when I'm done, tells me how clean my floors actually are. And this is more or less the ritual that I use to help get my intention to fruition. Now, what makes all this mundane crap magical? Well, it's my attitude. If I were to approach this basically weekly task with disdain or dread and or resistance, this task will be a real chore, truly mundane. And when it's done, I may or may not be feeling a sense of accomplishment. I may or may not be satisfied with the results, but I will guarantee you this, I will be tired. Tired. Now, however, if I focus from the very beginning on what I want and expect the outcome to be, and how that's going to look and feel when I'm finished, I get invigorated and excited to get the task done. So I'll put on some rock and roll music and I'll get to it. And when I'm done, I always feel accomplished. I always feel satisfied. And I feel even proud because when I look around, no matter what was going on above the floor, on the other surfaces, when the floor is clean,
Yeah.
everything else looks good.
Yeah.
Yes.
You know,
Very true.
that's magic. There you go. That's the magical right there. And with all that said, I will still be damn tired. Now, if I'm doing now that's, a regular everything that's not real ritualistic. It's just making the mundane magic in itself. But if I'm doing a really big or deep cleaning, I'll probably get a little more ritualistic. My spring and fall cleanings are ceiling to floor, both physically and metaphysically. So I'll start with a banishing of stale, unwanted energies and metaphysical debris. You know the stuff you thought you let go of, but never really left. Metaphysical debris, like physical debris, gets caught in the cobwebs and the crevices. You know, you may let it go, but it hasn't let go of you. It's time to get it gone. So I'll usually start with lighting a black candle somewhere centrally in the house. And then I'll take my besom and start by the back door and sweeping the air from ceiling to floor, from the back door widdershins throughout the house with an incantation. I'm only going to do that once because it's a big house, but it's big enough that the incantation will be at least 3 times spoken. And we'll do that until I get back to the back, return to the back door and sweep all of that metaphysical debris right on out the door. And that then sometimes I'll use some dark moon water to spritz it out. Next comes the sweeping, the actual physical working part of the project. And that I'll, start it really for the physical cleaning. I don't really care where I start. And it depends, sometimes I start in the bedrooms and work out, sometimes I start from the back and work in. Depends on what's I'm feeling at the time. But that's where we'll go, you know, from there we'll get to, and the other thing is cleaning, the actual physical cleaning of the house these days will take me several days. Didn't always used to be that way, but it'll take several days. So, again, that's why I don't worry about where I start and whatnot. I do it one room at a, one or two rooms at a time. When the whole house is clean, now I will do a cleansing and purifying smudging around the house. And I'll start from the front door and work docile, incanting, to invite whatever it is I want to bring in. And this can be done at any time. I do it, you know, twice a year. Although I realized, because I started my autumn cleaning and I got up on the top of the kitchen and realized, that's right, I didn't do the spring cleaning, ceiling to floor, because I was still recovering from COVID. I did a big cleaning, but I didn't get the carpet off off the top shelves, you know. But so after the whole house is clean, then I'll go do the smudging. And like I said, this can be done at any time for any reason. You can address just about any issue. You got illness, you banish the germs, you bring in the health, finances, banish the debt, bring in some earnings, win the lottery. Love, black clouds, just about anything can be addressed, you know, and be gotten rid of in your house and corrected to a better place. And it's really just that simple. It just, all you have to make the mundane magical is to make the tedious fun and the difficult doable. That's how you make the mundane magical. Okay, slide 5, please. Oh, okay, while other spiritual paths often look beyond the home and focus on the natural world, the house, which creates a solid and supportive place to work from, a literal and magical home base. I consider myself a kitchen witch, but I really have a strong house witch inclination, and not so strong, but a bit of a garden witch inclination as well. And that makes perfect sense, because if I didn't have a house or a home, I wouldn't have a kitchen. And if it wasn't for garden witchcraft, whether it's my own or somebody else's, I wouldn't have anything to cook. So, you know, you kind of need the support of all of this stuff to make it work. You know, I personally follow the path of witness spirituality. While I don't recognize or resonate, I mean, while I do recognize and resonate with the idea of divine, I don't commit or devote myself to any one particular deity. And while I love participating in community, in rituals and celebrations with community, I tend to be a solo practitioner. And that's probably why I like the kitchen, house magic, and all of that. And just for the record, there is a difference between witchcraft and Wicca. While many Wiccans practice witchcraft, not all of them do. And not everyone who does practice witchcraft considers himself Wiccan. So I'd like to make those distinctions. There are many hearth goddesses and gods and helpful spirits and not so helpful spirits that are associated with house magic, or hearth magic, I should say. The most widely known, probably and accepted, are the Greek Hestia, the Roman Vesta, and the Celtic Bridget. However, there are lots of others. I was amazed. And they come from all over. Juno, another one of the Roman gods.
I
Bridget,
think we can go to the next slide, actually. I think I set the next one to go with these, right?
yeah,
Did I forget to put in next slide?
no, I did.
It's okay, there's two of us who know the
Thus we
PowerPoint.
save the end of the word.
I can't see what's up there from here.
Yeah. I think I made a slide for this. I remember seeing that cute little
Yeah.
fairy creature.
Yeah, there's Norse and Germanic kitchen gods. There's, of course, the Roman and the Greeks, the Celtic, the English, the Scottish, the Welsh, Japanese.
There's a lot of goddesses that.
I was surprised Loki is considered a hearth god, which
Fire.
actually it makes a lot of sense. Because, believe it or not, he is said to have been born of fire and therefore is linked to that element. And two, because some believe his worship began in ancient households in the hearth fire and spread outwards from there. And over time he became demonized, like every other household or fire guy. Says here, Loki can and will protect you and your household when honored and asked. Oh, he might have also once been a household dwarf or elemental before being deified. Okay. Zhao Jun, Chinese. Bess and Besset, pretty much they're considered house hearth gods, and but kitchen, they're the one of the hearth gods. They're the ones who get taken into the kitchen quite often. And there's so many. I mean, we can go through them all. And then there's the house spirits. You want to be very careful
Mhm.
with some of those.
Yes, you do.
There's the Lars for the Romans and the Brownies for Scotland and England. Bogart, I found that to be really fun. England and North Country, and that one is a mischievous and sometimes malevolent one. Hobbes. The mole boy. The mole boy.
Dumbo boy, yeah.
Tomte, Sweden. Nice, Denmark and Norway. But so there are lots of them out there. And that's about it. If there are any questions.
Hey.